Webinar is about Michigan Cares, a state-funded SEL and mental health program for Michigan schools. Michigan Virtual's mission is to advance both learning and teaching through research, partnership, and practice. Michigan Virtual offers over 200 online courses that can provide for high school and middle school students, including world languages, such as American Sign Language, Chinese, French, and German, along with 22 AP courses, over 40 online middle school courses, including 3 world languages, hundreds of professional development sketchbuilding courses, along with new courses in social emotional learning. Our partnership extends to working with other organizations to provide our schools resources necessary to help students. One such partnership is with Navigate 360, a leading provider of social emotional learning and restorative practice programming nationwide. Today's webinar presenters are my colleagues from both Michigan Virtual and also from Navigate 360. I'd first like to introduce Peter Kraft, Managing Director of eLearning.
All right, thank you, Angela. Well, again, my name is Peter Kraft, and I'm the Managing Director of eLearning at Navigate 360 and a proud partner of Michigan Virtual. And I'd like to give you a little bit more information about Michigan Cares. This is a state-funded program that teaches social and emotional learning and mental health to Michigan K-12 students. And the program is available at no charge to every district and school in the state. So what is Michigan Cares? Well, it's a library of digital lessons for students, K-12, that teaches them social and emotional skills like self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. And your state legislators here in Michigan have funded the Michigan Cares program because these skills improve academic outcomes and better prepare Michigan's youth for greater success in college and career. Now, especially coming off of the challenging times of the pandemic, many children need support in these areas. I'm sure we can all agree on that. And this program was a bipartisan decision to fund the program for Michigan schools and our kids. The Michigan Cares program library includes over 1,000 lessons to help kids navigate challenges and learn great social skills. This is an investment in our youth and the future of our state. Michigan Cares is delivered through a partnership with Michigan Virtual, a 23-year-old nonprofit created to improve educational outcomes for Michigan children, and its technology and content partner, Navigate 360, which I'm a part of. And we built school safety, health, and wellness programs for schools and states around the country. And this is the second year Michigan Cares has been available to schools and districts in our state. And if you're not already using the program yet, you'll get a lot more information during this webinar with links on how to get your school or district registered. And Michigan Cares even includes content for parents and school staff. Social and emotional learning and mental health is something we can all benefit from. So I just wanted to say thank you to our state legislators, Michigan Virtual, and my team at Navigate 360 for bringing Michigan Cares to our state's K-12 schools. And I also just wanted to mention, as I hand this off now to Dr. Crystal Ladwig on my team to give you a quick overview of the program, and then she'll hand it off to another colleague for really a live walkthrough. I wanted to just mention, some of you may be familiar with Suite 360, the program for social and emotional learning, mental health, parent engagement, and staff engagement. That's actually the core of the Michigan Cares program. So you may see some reference to that throughout the program, but it's all been packaged together under Michigan Cares and made available for all schools in the state. So Crystal, Dr. Ladwig, I'll hand it off to you.
Hi, thanks, Peter. So I'm really pleased to share with you a lot more information about the Michigan Cares programs and specifically the components that you'll have access to or that you already have access to within the Michigan Cares program. This includes 4 unique sets of lessons designed for different audiences and different topics, including a core SEL and character education program for students, a parent engagement and education program appropriate for all parents and caregivers, staff development program, and specific lessons for students in grades K through 12 about mental health awareness. Now let's talk just a little bit about why we need lessons like this. You know, more recent statistics are showing us that we have a lot of kids that are very concerned about their own social emotional well-being and their safety within that context. We see recent statistics that show that students are feeling less connected and more concerned, increasing in mental health claims, and most concerning, increasing thoughts of suicide or self-harm. Now, some of these students we already knew about before the pandemic began. Those are those students that you'll see in the next slide that we already knew about and expected. These are students that before the pandemic may have already had struggles related to their social, emotional, and mental well-being. But now we also have students we didn't expect. These are students that because of the pandemic are now needing additional intensity of instruction and additional supports that we weren't really prepared for as an education industry and an education system to meet the needs of those students. So we're having to think creatively and do new things with larger groups of students than we planned on. And then the final group of students I want to mention are those at the top of your screen, the students on the verge. These are students that as they're transitioning back into school may struggle. We're going to have some students who are going to come back strong and great, but we're going to have some students who come back behind academically, and the additional stress and anxiety that puts on them will be considerable. We're going to have students who have not really been around other people much for the last year and a half, who are going to need to learn and almost relearn and practice again some of those social emotional skills that they had developed before the pandemic. And we're doing all this with limited staff and limited resources. So I'm really pleased to share some of those resources that will help you as you're working with your students in your classrooms and in your schools. The first part I want to mention to you is the student program. This is a set of K through 12 social emotional learning and character education lessons that are scaffolded per grade level. So there are 36 unique lessons for every grade level. They are organized by theme and CASEL competency, which you see over on the right side of the screen there. We'll talk about that in just a little bit more in a moment. There are also pre and post assessments available within the student program that are very valuable to help you understand where students are as they're coming back into school this year and to evaluate the progress they make throughout the school year. This program offers flexibility to meet your needs, whether you're teaching in person or virtual. These lessons can be implemented in a teacher-led format, student-led, or even a hybrid fashion. And the teacher companion guides are really your primary key as a teacher and as an educator to implement these programs or these lessons. They're going to help you understand what students are learning, why they're learning it, and have those follow-up discussions with students. In conjunction with that, we have the Sweet 360 Parent Program that's part of Michigan Cares. This provides parent engagement and education, also 36 scaffolded lessons per grade level that are aligned with that student program. This is going to provide parents and caregivers with the tools that they need to have those same conversations with students at home that you're having with them at school about shared topics and using a shared vocabulary. The next part I want to mention is the Sweet 360 staff program that's part of Michigan Cares. This is a really exciting program for us because we've really spent a lot of time over this last year increasing this program to provide real-time professional development for your teachers and your staff at your school. This includes 3 unique sets of lessons. There are some that are aligned specifically with the student program. That is going to provide real-time professional development to help teachers get tools that they need to teach a lesson on a topic right before students are then expected to be doing that same lesson, a lesson on that same topic. We have adult wellness lessons that are appropriate for all school staff, not just teachers, to help staff learn to care for their own social, emotional, and mental health. This is an incredibly important component this year as we've seen the stress that teachers have encountered over the last year and a half. And we also have additional lessons in there, again, for all school staff to help them interact with students in positive, uplifting ways. And that's not just, again, for teachers, that includes everyone who has contact with your students, including nurses, counselors, office staff, those individuals who work in the lunchroom. Anyone who has contact with your students has the ability to make a positive impact. The final piece I want to mention is the mental health and prevention lessons. Again, these are scaffolded by grade level. There are 5 lessons per grade level in elementary and 8 in the secondary grades. really designed to help kids develop the foundation skills that they need to care for their mental health in a very proactive way, but also helping them learn to respond appropriately if they need help. Like the student lessons, they're very flexible, can be in-person, virtual, teacher-led, student-led, hybrid, and they also include teacher companion guides to help you facilitate those discussions with students about these critical topics. Now, earlier I mentioned we had a lot of different themes in the CASEL alignment. So you're seeing on your screen just a sample of the topics and themes that are covered across those, across the curriculum. And I do want to mention too the CASEL alignment. You'll see in every teacher companion guide and in the scope and sequence, when you look at that, you'll see that it aligns with one of those 5 core CASEL competencies that have been identified as those key elements for social emotional success in as adult, for children and adults, including self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. I also want to stress that all these lessons can be delivered across any web-enabled device. So they can be done in the classroom, they can be done at home, they can be done on individual devices, teacher-led, and presented up on a screen. So you have a lot of ways and a lot of tools that you can use to implement these lessons in a way that best meets your unique needs. And at this point, I'm going to actually transition over to another one of our Navigate team members, and Tracy can tell you a little bit more about what you get with Michigan Cares.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I really appreciate that. As a former Michigander and one of the founders of Suite 360, I'm absolutely thrilled to support the great state of Michigan and very excited about some of the enhancements that are going to be available to schools and districts this year. So with the launch of this school year, districts and schools will now have the opportunity to utilize a preset curriculum, as well as customize a specific scope and sequence if there's specific needs and objectives that they need to meet. Custom admin dashboards, so having robust reporting on user engagement. We have a pre and post culture and climate survey available, as well as pre and post knowledge base assessments around each one of the modules. The ability to customize the platform to embed specific resources, both school, community, and state, chat features, and then it's available in really any web-enabled device, including customized apps. And then obviously available as well will be the restorative practice and behavior intervention program at a additional rate structure, but all can be tied into the admin dashboard for reporting capabilities. So I would love to pass this over to Chris Riley on our team, who can actually walk you through a program demo.
So for those of you who may have used the Michigan Cares program in the last year, you may be familiar with the Michigan Cares site. Looks something like this. The same content has been packaged up and is now available in a customized district portal, something like this. And so what will happen is you'll actually work with our team. We'll get you set up with your own school or district customized site, and you'll be able to run the program the way that you want to run it. And there's a lot of tools. Really, when we built the program, we prioritized making this easy. As a social emotional learning curriculum, we understand that there are a lot of things on teachers' plates, on administrators' plates. And so our emphasis has always been on making the user experience as seamless as possible for every stakeholder at your school. And I'll walk you through how we accomplish that. The biggest driver in Suite 360 to make things as simple as possible is our preset curriculum. Our preset curriculum is a comprehensive social emotional learning curriculum that is themed out. So every week you have a different theme. So you will start with a beginning and end of year a beginning of the year assessment. Then you'll get into the special social emotional learning themes that we address, such as planning and organization, understanding emotions, mindfulness, honesty, integrity, and more. Every grade level has their own preset curriculum. So what I was just looking at was 8th grade. 7th grade would have their own, 9th grade would have their own. Each grade has their own lesson, but they fit along the same themes. So your whole school and even your entire district can be talking about the same theme. You can be announcing it in your morning announcements, talking about it as a school, but each grade level gets their own lesson based on their developmentally appropriate level. Right here from the preset curriculum, we can preview lessons, but I'll take you through a lesson as a little later on. And we can assign these lessons. This allows you to set up the program for the entire year in about 3 clicks. We can also add the parent and staff portions with this preset curriculum. So the Suite 360 staff program follows right along with the Suite 360 student program. So as you're assigning lessons from the student program, you're also assigning the staff lessons right along with it, or the parent lessons. Schools and districts have the options to use all of those features, the student, parent, and staff, or just one or just a couple of them. It's totally up to you which pieces of this you want to use. And once it's all assigned, it'll look something like this. What I have in front of us right now is a pulse survey. So part of the benefit of having your own customized program with the Michigan Cares is that you get your own data. So we can send surveys out, we can get data and insight into what your specific students at your school or district are thinking, feeling, and doing within the program. Once everything is set up and assigned, students will log into an easy to use interface, and they'll have a preset schedule of lessons that they'll go through. There are several different delivery options, but I'm going to go through a student lesson for now so we can look at what that looks like. Every Suite 360 lesson starts off with a pretest. This is where they're going to kind of gauge their understanding before they go through the content. There are a couple of accessibility features that I like to point out. The first is this text-to-speech. So the program can be read out loud to students. So if they're behind grade reading level or are struggling readers, they can have the program read to them. Down here at the bottom, we also have a language translation. It translates the program into about 120 different languages so that students can, if they are English language learners, can see the program within their own native language. As we go through the lesson, you're going to see interactivity. The goal here is to have students clicking. It'll be grade appropriate, different pop-ups, different things that students can do. Videos that emphasize student voice and are closed captioned. And everything, of course, is created by SEL experts, our team of SEL experts who put together these lessons specifically for students. You also notice here our instructor scripts. So every lesson comes with a teacher companion guide, which I'll show you in a second, and instructor scripts to get more information. An important piece about each of these student lessons is that they also come with a parent resources guide. So this parent guide is really designed to bring parents into the conversation without too much effort. It can be sent home proactively by the school or district, and it just loops the parents into what we're talking to their kids about. It's a perfect feature to get all of the stakeholders involved in the conversation. The students will then finish with a post test, which is going to compare back to the pre-test so we can gauge learning outcomes. Once they're done with the lesson, they'd be done for the week, or they'd move on to their next lesson depending on how you choose to implement. So that is the student portion. The staff portions are very similar. So we're going to go through a staff lesson as well. And you can think of the staff portion in two ways. We have our student-centered staff portion, which is for staff to deliver lessons to students. But then we also have, we all know that even as adults, we need help with our own social emotional learning, our own development. And so we have another section of the staff program that specifically talks to adult wellness, helping us to manage our own social emotional learning. So both sides are included in the Michigan Cares staff program. Each of the staff lessons will start off with a open-ended reflection that where staff can kind of reflect on what they're doing currently. We'll have text, videos, information about how to teach that subject, and then even a special section about teaching students with disabilities and English language learners. How do we adapt to those students who might need a little additional help? And then every staff lesson will correspond to a student lesson. So you'll notice this section, your students will be completing a Suite 360 student lesson called Prioritizing and Managing My Time. And we'll go through what should they have learned from that lesson, shared vocabulary, journaling questions, and then a teacher companion guide, continue the conversation questions. And then finally, we'll ask the staff members to talk about 2 to 3 steps that they're going to take to improve their students' skills in that area. Finally, there is a comprehensive teacher companion guide that is basically a out-of-the-box lesson plan that teachers can use along with the digital curriculum to have more in-depth conversations with their students and really drive the points home. The parent portion is very similar to the staff in that it corresponds to that student version. Very easy to use. You'll provide the same companion guide that the teachers have, and then we'll have parent-specific content, videos, and text for the parents. All of this gets bundled up together into your district program where you can see data on the back end. And that's really the most important piece of these customized programs is the data. The first piece of data that I'll call attention to is the beginning and end of year assessment. So at the beginning of the year, the students will take an assessment, and it's already part of the preset curriculum. It'll already be assigned for you. And you'll be able to see how your students rank on all of the 5 CASEL competencies. So relationship skills, social awareness, responsible decision-making, self-awareness, and self-management, along with a few subdomains, such as self-concept and emotion regulation. You'll be able to drill down to see each individual student, how they scored, what answers they said to each of the survey questions, and you can identify trends and strengths and weaknesses within your building, within your district, within your individual students. We can also have a Suite 360 report card. So every student will have their own report card where you'll be able to see all the lessons that were assigned, what was completed, what was not, what the scores were, the pre-test and post-test scores for each of those lessons. So that is the Suite 360 program that has been bundled together into the Michigan Cares. The last piece that I haven't touched on yet is the mental health. The mental health, while the student program is really about general social emotional learning skills, the mental health drives home the point for key mental health topics, such as understanding mental health conditions, stopping the stigma, how do we support someone with a mental health condition, substance abuse, and even child trafficking prevention. So these lessons go in depth onto those hard-hitting topics that your students need the most help with. All of these programs are bundled together and are available in the same portal. Students can roster through Clever or ClassLink. We can even work with you to get your student information system data into the system, regardless of what you use and how your data looks. We can get your students rostered in. Everything is seamless, works well, and so we're excited to get you into the program. And so that is our kind of Suite 360 tour. I'll pause for a second and then turn it back to our colleague Angela to finish us off.
Thanks, Chris, for the informative demo. As we wrap up today's webinar, there's also an optional add-on program available, Suite 360 Intervention, that enables educators to assign lessons to students related to their infraction. Educators and legislatures now recognize that detention and suspension do not positively impact student behavior, and in many cases reward bad behavior. Professionally developed around a discipline matrix, these lessons cover a wide range of infractions, helping kids learn from their actions and reduce recidivism. Thank you for watching this webinar today. Ready to launch Michigan Cares at your school? Click the link or fill out the form below to get started.